Danny ignored the woman and moved into a crouch since there was no standing room. All of the movement caused sharp pains in her head, but she knew she had to move quickly if she wanted to get out. She moved to the door of the cage and rattled it, but it wouldn't budge. A scan of the room showed 2 doors. On the right was the large metal door the 2 men had come from originally, and where they brought the young woman. It had a small window, but it was so opaque from abrasions she couldn't see anything through it from her angle. On the left side was a normal-looking solid wooden door with no windows on it at all. The manila folder was in the middle of both, but slightly closer to the metal door. A quick glance at the other girls showed they were watching her curiously. Even the obviously pregnant one stopped glaring at her for a moment. She sat back on the ground and scooted to the spot where she woke up. Just as she leaned back against the wall, the screaming began again. The tears streaming down the girl's face came unbidden to her mind. Her heart sunk to her stomach, and she wiped the corners of her eyes before anything could escape. She went over her plan again to try to tune out the screams as she worked to relax her body against the wall. It wasn't until the screaming stopped that everything came together. She watched the metal door intensely as silence hung in the air. Even the whimpering of the other occupants ceased. Only supreme willpower stopped her from jumping as the metal door burst open. The 2 men came over to the cage. One pulled out a key, unlocked the cage, and opened it. The other reached in and grabbed the obviously pregnant woman. The woman fought and pulled. She grabbed the bar on the side of the cage to anchor her. The man tried to pull her away, but she held on tight. The other man walked over and began to pry her fingers from the bar. The woman looked at Danny with desperately pleading eyes, but Danny didn't react. Despair set in the woman's eyes. She let go and didn't bother to fight as they led her to the metal door. As soon as they let go of the cage door, Danny burst into action. She jumped up and thrust out her right foot to catch the door before it closed. This time the door flew back and slammed into the ball of her foot. A sharp pain that jolted up her leg followed a crunch. She gritted her teeth against the pain for a moment. Then she slid close to the cage door until she could push it open further with her hand. As she shuffled out of the cage, she used the door to pull herself up and held her now throbbing foot in the air. She tried to hop on one foot over to the counter while still holding the cage door. Instead, she hopped forward, almost falling. She managed to reach the counter, but the sudden clang of metal caused her to jump. Save the many, not the few, she told herself as she let out a deep breath, before unwinding a string securing the folder. Inside there were photographs, documents, detailed lists of times, and a couple of crystals containing video. She heaved a sigh of relief when she noticed everything was still there, tied it closed, and tucked it under her arm. She wasn't going to get far on one foot, so she gingerly put weight on the other. Satisfied when she found a position that was bearable enough that she could limp along at a good pace, she limped over to the wooden door. As she reached for the handle, it turned on its own accord,